Sometimes, the smallest question can change two lives forever. When a sick little girl shyly asked, "Can I sit here?" she had no idea the stranger on that park bench was a lonely millionaire CEO, carrying scars deeper than money could heal. What started as a simple request turned into a story of kindness, healing, and the rebirth of hope, for both of them. The park was quiet that afternoon, its trees swaying gently under the golden touch of late autumn. Michael Carter, dressed in an immaculate gray suit that no longer felt like armor, sat on a weathered bench staring at nothing in particular. He was the CEO of Carter Enterprises, a name that echoed in boardrooms across the city, but today, stripped of the chatter of meetings and the noise of fortune, he was just a widowed man. His wife, Anna, had passed away 2 years ago in a tragic car accident, and since then, the world felt like a series of endless meetings and soulless days. He visited the park because it reminded him of the rare evenings when he and Anna would sneak away from the world, sit on this very bench, and dream of a family they never got the chance to have. He was lost in thought when he heard a soft, hesitant voice. "Can I sit here?" Michael turned, expecting to see a jogger or perhaps an elderly man wanting rest, but instead found a little girl, no older than 10, holding a small teddy bear. Her eyes were pale, almost tired, and her skin carried the fragile paleness of someone who had seen more hospital walls than playgrounds. She clutched her bear tightly, waiting for his response. "Of course," Michael said gently, shifting slightly to give her space. She climbed up onto the bench carefully, her legs dangling as she hugged her bear to her chest. Michael studied her out of the corner of his eye. Children usually brought with them noise and chaos, but this girl sat quietly, as though she knew the world was heavier than she should have to carry. "My name's Lily," she said softly after a while, not looking at him. "And this is Mr. Buttons." She wiggled her bear, giving a faint smile. Michael found himself chuckling, a sound he hadn't heard in his own voice for a long time. "Nice to meet you, Lily." "And you too, Mr. Buttons." For a while, they sat in silence, the kind that felt oddly comforting. Finally, Michael asked, "Do you come here often?" Lily nodded, her small shoulders shrugging. "Sometimes. When I'm not at the hospital." That word hit Michael like a jolt. "Hospital?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. Lily looked at him, her big eyes holding both innocence and a wisdom no child should bear. "I'm sick. My mom says the doctors are helping me get better. But sometimes I just like to sit here because the park smells better than medicine." Michael felt something inside him crack open. He had built empires, closed deals worth millions, but he suddenly felt powerless before the fragile honesty of this little girl. Something about her reminded him of what he had lost. Of the family he never had, of Anna's wish to be a mother. He found himself saying, "You're very brave, Lily." She smiled faintly, swinging her legs. "Mom says being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you try anyway." That simple statement pierced through Michael's heart. He realized, sitting next to this sick little girl and her teddy bear, that courage had nothing to do with boardrooms or contracts. It was about sitting in a park, clutching hope against all odds. The days that followed surprised Michael. Each time he visited the park, Lily would appear, as though fate had quietly decided their paths should cross again and again. Sometimes she would come in a wool hat, sometimes with an 4 tape mark still faintly visible on her arm, but always with Mr. Buttons. She had a way of speaking that mixed childish wonder with profound truth. She would ask Michael the strangest questions. "Do you think trees talk to each other? Why do people say money makes you happy if it can't make you healthy?" And Michael found himself laughing, pondering, and sometimes even struggling to answer. He learned that Lily's mother worked 2 jobs to pay hospital bills. Her father had left years ago, unable to bear the responsibility of raising a sick child. Yet Lily never spoke with bitterness, she only ever seemed grateful for the moments she could sit outside, breathe fresh air, and make a new friend on a lonely park bench. Michael, on the other hand, found himself opening up in ways he never thought possible. He told Lily about Anna, about how she used to sing while cooking, how she had dreamed of painting their nursery in bright yellow, how the car crash had left him broken. Lily listened with wide, empathetic eyes, nodding as if she understood pain more deeply than most adults. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with streaks of orange, Lily asked softly, "Do you ever feel like your heart is broken but it still beats?" Michael froze at her words, stunned by how perfectly she had described the weight he carried every day. "Yes," he admitted, his voice thick. "All the time." She leaned her head on his arm then, in a gesture so small yet so powerful, and whispered, "Me too." That night, Michael lay awake in his penthouse, haunted not by loneliness but by the echo of a child's fragile voice. He realized he had been building walls around himself for years, hiding behind the title of CEO, but Lily's presence was quietly tearing them down. For the first time in years, he felt purpose flicker inside him. 1 week later, Michael visited the hospital for the first time. Lily had mentioned she would be staying for treatments, and without knowing why, he found himself driving there, carrying a bag with coloring books, markers, and a brand new teddy bear to keep Mr. Button's company. The sight of Lily hooked up to machines, her small frame dwarfed by tubes and beeping monitors, nearly shattered him. Yet when she saw him, her whole face lit up. "You came," she said excitedly, her voice frail but full of joy. Lily's mother, exhausted yet graceful, introduced herself as Sarah. She was surprised to see a man in an expensive suit sitting cross-legged on the hospital floor, helping her daughter color inside the lines of a butterfly picture. But she saw the way Lily's eyes danced with happiness and let the moment be. Over the next few days, Michael kept coming back. He brought books, games, sometimes just stories from his own life. Slowly, Sarah learned who he was, not just Michael, the kind stranger, but Michael Carter, the CEO whose face sometimes appeared in business magazines. At first, she kept her distance, wary of his intentions, but Michael's sincerity with Lily melted her doubts. One evening, when Lily had fallen asleep, Sarah whispered, "Why are you doing this?" Michael looked at her, his voice quiet but firm. "Because she reminds me of everything I lost, and everything I still have a chance to save." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, and though no more was said, an unspoken bond began to form between them. The hospital visits became Michael's sanctuary. Board meetings lost their shine, his calendar cleared itself. He began to realize that success wasn't in numbers but in moments, moments where a little girl's laughter could fill a sterile hospital room with light. Months passed. Lily's condition wavered, some days strong, others fragile, but through it all, Michael stayed. He funded her treatments quietly, refusing recognition. He stood by Sarah, who had carried her burdens alone for so long, and together they built a rhythm of hope. One crisp morning, as the leaves turned gold, Michael found Lily waiting at their park bench again, bundled in a warm coat, her cheeks rosy with strength. "Guess what?" she said, her smile brighter than the autumn sun. "The doctors say I'm getting better. Mr. Button says it's because you make me laugh." Michael swallowed hard, overwhelmed. "No, Lily. It's because you're the bravest person I know." But deep inside, he knew she had saved him just as much as he had saved her. She had pulled him out of the grave of his grief and taught him to feel again. As winter came, so did something Michael had never expected. He and Sarah grew closer, their lives intertwining not through forced romance but through shared struggle, laughter, and the quiet strength of watching over Lily. Sarah saw not just a millionaire CEO but a man with a broken heart who chose to heal alongside them. And Michael saw not just a single mother but a woman of resilience who carried love like a shield. One snowy evening, sitting at the same park bench where it all began, Lily nestled between them and whispered, "It feels like a family." Michael's heart clenched, and for the first time in years, tears fell freely, not of grief, but of gratitude. He looked at Sarah, who smiled softly, and realized that fate had given him another chance. The question had been simple, "Can I sit here?" But it had rewritten the story of his life. A sick little girl had sat down beside a widowed CEO, and in doing so, gave him the greatest gift of all, love, purpose, and the courage to live again. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can rewrite an entire life. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Vibes, because together, we can spread love, one story at a time.